What's the best way to win an argument? Simple, don't have one. But that might not be the answer you were hoping for. We all want to be right. We all want to prove it. And being right seems like the best way to live, at least at first. However, a new way of looking at arguments shows us that there is a better way. This is getting to yes, the story of the two professors who taught the world how to stop arguing. So if you're ready to stop fighting, start listening, and learn a better way to argue, let's dive into the backstory first. After World War II, Harvard set out to create a unique program, one that would educate future leaders in the art of diplomacy. The program was a success. By the 60s, they were sending their graduates off to solve the world's problems. But then something unexpected happened. The world got more peaceful. As the Kennedy administration took office, the Cold War thawed. It seemed as though the need for diplomats had vanished overnight. With their program in jeopardy, the faculty had only one option: adapt or die. That's when they turned to two of their best professors, Roger Fisher and William Ury. Their task was simple: find a way to keep the program alive. But how? That's when they came up with the idea of teaching a new skill: the art of negotiation. Over the next several years, they developed a curriculum that focused on three key skills. 1. How to separate the people from the problem. 2. How to focus on interests, not positions. And 3. How to create options for mutual gain. Now, this sounds simple enough, but it was completely new to the world of business. Up until this point, negotiations meant one thing: fighting to win. Fisher and Ury called this positional bargaining, and it was everything their students had been taught to do. They thought of arguments like battles to be won. Instead, they argued using insults to threaten. They held back information to gain leverage, and they tried to pressure the other side into submission. Basically, they looked at the person across the table as their enemy. Fisher and Ury knew this mindset would cause major problems in the future. The world wasn't going to war anymore, but business was booming, and that meant people would now be negotiating over money. A lot of money. The good news was they already had a solution: principled negotiation, which focused on reaching the best possible outcome for everyone involved. This meant looking at the person across the table as a partner instead of an enemy. It meant focusing on shared goals instead of differences, and it meant thinking about creative solutions instead of simply winning. To understand this mindset shift, let's take a look at some of the most common negotiation tactics. Separate the people from the problem. Let's face it, people are emotional. Business deals are stressful. Deadlines loom over your head, and the pressure mounts. Before you know it, you're fighting about who's right and who's wrong. Suddenly, the person you are talking to becomes your enemy, and the problem you're trying to solve becomes a battle to be won. But here's the thing: that's not actually what's happening. You're fighting over the solution, not the problem. That's why Fisher and Ury recommend separating the two: the people and the problem. People are emotional beings, so address their emotions. Ask how they feel and listen. Understand what's causing those emotions before moving on to the problem. This is where things get interesting. The best way to tackle a problem is usually by working together. But to do that, you need to focus on interests, not positions. Focus on interests, not positions. Here's the definition of the word position: a place or level relative to others in a group or scale. In other words, a position is a status symbol. We love them because they tell us where we stand. But when it comes to negotiations, positions are the worst way to start a conversation. That's because a position doesn't tell you why someone wants something. It only tells you what they want. And that's the biggest mistake negotiators make: focusing on what instead of why. Consider this example. One student wants to go to the movies, but the other wants to stay home and play video games. What do you think is the best way to start a discussion? Asking why, of course. Why does he want to go to the movies? Is it because he wants to spend time with his friend? Is it because he feels like going out? Or is it because he hasn't been in a while? Now imagine asking these same questions but starting with his desire to play video games. What you'll notice is that the answers are exactly the same. He wants to spend time with his friend. He feels like doing something fun. He hasn't played in a while. And that's the key to understanding the difference between a position and an interest. Instead of saying, "I want to go to the movies," he should say, "I want to spend time with my friend." Once you understand the reason behind a position, you can work together to find a solution that satisfies both. Sometimes that means giving up your original position, but that's okay because you've gained something much more valuable. A deeper relationship built on trust and mutual respect. Create options for mutual gain. We've all been in situations where someone forces us to choose between two bad options, like choosing your broccoli or your carrots. When it comes to negotiations, that's called a win-lose situation, and it leads to resentment. The goal of principled negotiation is to move past these types of situations and explore all the different possibilities that exist. How do you do that? Well, Fisher and Urey offered 4 simple steps. First, expand the pie. Remember, the goal is to create a win-win situation, so first explore the entire situation. What is really on the table? Second, look for mutually beneficial options. Are there any areas where both parties could benefit? Third, look for compromises. Where can each party give a little bit to make the deal work? Finally, try something new. Don't be afraid to come up with creative solutions. In fact, it's often the best way to reach a win-win situation. Use objective criteria for fair solutions. Here's the problem with most negotiations. There's no clear way to decide what's fair. So most people just guess. But that's not always the best way to go. After all, you don't want to leave money on the table. That's why the 4th step in principled negotiation is to use objective criteria for fair solutions. Instead of guessing what's fair, you can use outside benchmarks to determine the best possible solution. For example, you could look at industry standards, compare offers from other businesses, or check market trends. You could even look at the original problem and ask yourself, is this really the best solution? If you're buying a car, for example, you might want to check its value online. Or if you're getting a haircut, you might want to ask the barber what's the average price in the city. But it doesn't have to be complicated. Even small things like adding emojis to a message can add context and tone, making it easier to understand. You see, most disagreements aren't about what's being said, they're about how it's being said. That's why emojis are so important. Now, if you want to learn the exact formula for communicating effectively, make sure to watch our video on active listening. We'll see you over there. Now it's time to put these lessons into practice. Let's look at some common situations and how you can use the 4-step process to improve them. You're at a used car dealership and you found your dream car. You take it for a test drive and you're ready to buy. Now it's time to talk numbers. The salesperson tells you the car is $10,000. You think it's too expensive. In the end, you drive away in your dream car and you couldn't be happier. Thank you for watching this episode of Unknown Storytellers. Our channel explores the hidden stories that have shaped our world and the brilliant minds behind them. And we have a favor to ask. Do you have a favorite character that has helped you through tough times or inspired you to be a better person? Share your story in the comments. Everyone has a story to tell, and yours could impact thousands.